Coming up on Network Africa, DRC troops allegedly surrendered to M23 rebels as the rebels sent dozens of purported Romanian mercenaries back home. M23 rebels in DR Congo vowed to march all the way to the capital, Kinshasa. Plus, as civil war continues in Sudan, the UN World Food Programme attempts to expand humanitarian assistance to millions more people. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde in Lagos, Nigeria. We begin with the Democratic Republic of Congo. M23 rebels in Goma have rounded up hundreds of Congolese soldiers, members of government-allied militias and police officers into trucks. An M23 spokesperson who claimed the troops had surrendered said they are transporting them to an undisclosed location where they would be integrated into their ranks. He adds that soldiers who no longer want to fight would be allowed to return to civilian life, but some are ready to join the M23. Two men waiting to board the trucks who identified themselves as Congolese soldiers said they had surrendered and had no other choice than to join the insurgents. The M23 has cemented its control over the eastern city of Goma since entering the provincial capital on Sunday. Local media reports are saying that M23 rebels have also rounded up dozens of people they described as Romanian mercenaries for the Congolese army in DRC. The supposed mercenaries were seen at Kigali airport preparing to board flights back home. Their precise identities have not been confirmed, and the DRC army has not also commented on its alleged use of mercenaries in the conflict with the militants. One man was holding a Romanian passport. On Tuesday, the Romanian Foreign Ministry reported that a group of its citizens under contract from the DRC had become trapped in Goma. Local news outlets suggested that there were nearly 300 European, mostly Romanian, private security contractors and that they had surrendered to UN forces before being transported to Rwanda under a UN brokered deal.
For this private company for a long time, like 13 years. Okay, and there was another project, like, as I said, trainers and training the national army, the DRC national army.
To fight against their own people, right?
To fight, not against their own people, to fight. That was when M23 approaching Goma, okay, we seek protection of UN in Goma. That's why, and they give it to us as a non-combatants. That's why I end up here with you, sir. As far as I know, the Romanian government, okay, my country, make a request to the Rwanda government to be here and to facilitate what they facilitate already.
How did we end up in the hands of M23? Because M23 came in Goma, were established in Goma. So once the M23 arrived at Goma, we seeked refugee at the UN base. We are instructors. Our contract is written black on white that we are instructors. We are not engaging anyone. We are not supporting besides the instruction. And we're not engaging, we weren't there to fight. Our mandate, our contract wasn't about fighting, was about instruction.
In the meantime, the M23 group of rebels have vowed to take their offensive all the way to the capital, Kinshasa. One of the leaders, speaking at a briefing in Goma on Thursday, said they were open to dialogue with the government as part of their plans to gain political power in the Democratic Republic of Congo. There are unconfirmed reports that the M23 rebels are currently advancing towards Bukavu, and that's the second biggest city in the region, and this is despite international calls for a ceasefire. The rebels captured the eastern city of Goma earlier this week. They are advising residents of Goma to go about their daily life while they work on facilitating humanitarian assistance.
It is Congo. We are fighting for Congo. We are not fighting for mineral. We are not fighting for anything. And what you say, balkanization, is not a word that deserves to be noted in our struggle. Our struggle is, we are struggling today for three main reasons. The first reason is just that there is not a state in DRC. Tshisekedi regime has destroyed the army, has destroyed the national police, he has destroyed the administration, and above all, he has destroyed justice. I encourage him to continue fighting, but we are going to fight him until we get to Kinshasa.
A regional spokesperson for the International Committee of the Red Cross in Africa, Alyona Seneko, is highlighting the high cost to civilians of the DRC crisis. The Red Cross representative notes that in addition to the huge number of wounded and the lack of hospital beds, medical supplies had been looted in Goma. She further warns of ICRC's shrinking capacity to help civilians in need.
It is a critical mission aimed at achieving.
Our main concerns, which are the escalating fighting in and around Goma, and also the use of the heavy artillery and explosive weapons, and the devastating toll on civilians that this has produced. And there is an influx of wounded that we have received in the Ndosha hospital that we support, and our surgical team has been working 24/7 to respond to this. Now the fighting in the heavily populated area that creates incredible humanitarian situation, the loss of civilian life, but also there are a lot of dangers that are related to the attacks on essential civilian infrastructure. And this biolab is just one example of the potential consequences that could happen if water stations, power plants get damaged. We do have our surgical team, and our surgical team is working in Ndosha Hospital in Goma together with the Congolese staff at the hospital, and they have been working 24/7 for many days. The hospital ran out of beds. They're using parking lot as a triage, as they're receiving a lot of wounded, about half of them women and children, and also we have seen like an increase in the number of wounded children, something that we are worried very much. So these are our immediate concern.
The Deputy Prime Minister of the DR Congo, Jean-Pierre Lihu, has led a blood donation drive in Kinshasa as fighting continues between government forces and M23 rebels in the east of the country. Locals followed his example, lining up to have their blood taken to help treat wounded troops and others in the conflict. The conflict in the east involves approximately 100 armed groups in the region. Away from DR Congo, in Uganda, a nurse has died of Ebola in the first recorded fatality since the last outbreak ended in 2023 in the country. The 32-year-old male nurse was an employee of Mulago Hospital, the main referral facility in the capital, Kampala. He developed a fever and was treated at several locations in the country before multiple lab tests confirmed he had been suffering from the Ebola disease. At least 44 contacts of the victim has been identified, including 30 health workers and patients at Mulago Hospital. Uganda's last outbreak, discovered in September 2022, killed at least 55 people before it was declared over in January 2023.
The patient presented with a 5-day history of high fever, chest pain, and difficulty in breathing, and this started on 20th of this month. The symptoms later progressed to unexplained bleeding from multiple body sites. The patient experienced later, at the time of his death, he had also started showing the signs of multiple organ failure, and all this happened at National Referral Hospital, Mulago.
In Sudan, the United Nations World Food Programme has an ambitious plan to triple the number of people it supports to 7 million. Its top priority is to deliver life-saving assistance to locations facing famine or on the brink of famine. According to the group, intensified fighting and arbitrary obstruction of humanitarian convoys are hindering the fast and consistent movement of desperately needed aid. Meanwhile, a national liquidity crisis has led to widespread cash shortages. WFP cash and in-kind food distributions for over 4 million people have been delayed for over 1 month due to a lack of sufficient banknotes to help pay porters to load trucks.
WFP trucks to reach Zamzam with life-saving food aid destined for people in famine conditions in that camp. WFP is surging its food assistance to all locations, focusing on risk of famine areas. What we need is expanded, sustained access so that we can reach all of the people in Sudan that are facing starvation.
Welcome back to the program. We continue in South Sudan. At a special event in Juba, the capital, political leaders came together with communities to launch a new inclusive interactive platform that's promoting engagement on key issues, including advancing the peace process in the build-up to South Sudan's first democratic elections. The Community Conversations Show is a new program hosted on the UN's mission in South Sudan's radio Miriah network. It is dedicated to reaching large and diverse communities across the country with information of importance and messages of peace.
That's very great. And I'm very, very sure before you leave South Sudan this time, you're going to get, if you guys do not bring tickets.
Miriah has the ability to reach even the most isolated corners of the country and has become more than just a medium of entertainment. It is a lifeline that informs, educates, and unites. The Community Conversation Show that gives you, the community, a voice and opportunity to freely express your views on issues that are close to your heart and affect your day-to-day lives.
Community Conversation launched today is one of that critical pillars for bridging the gap and also trying to bring everybody together for diverse views to be heard, understood, and appreciated. Community Conversation is critical also because it is a platform to strengthen and promote inclusion. Inclusion of ideas, inclusion of views and thoughts, so that the people of South Sudan have a common agenda of building South Sudan and also respecting the views of each other. Peace cannot be realized by force. It's not by use of arms, but it is by understanding. It is for me and you to do something for peace, to forgive one another, to say no to revenge, to hear other people's opinion, to use dialogue as a means of resolving our differences. That's when development, economic growth, our children going to school, food in abundance will be realized in South Sudan.
2 months after Chad cut off its defense agreement with Paris, the French army has handed over its last military base in the country, the Conseil base in N'Djamena, the Chadian capital. Though it was Chad who announced the end of the defense pact, the head of the French Armed Forces Africa Command stated that the handover was partly France's decision. France had previously handed over 2 other military bases in the country. The Chadian Army Chief of Staff has hailed the end of defense ties with Paris, which before the end of the agreement had approximately 1,000 personnel in Chad. Back here in Nigeria, in Anambra State, it's a cherry development as the government of Japan handed over vehicles, flood detection and ICT equipment, among other items, to the government of the state. And this is in response to the impact of the 2022 flood disaster. The chargé d'affaires of the Embassy of Japan, Mr. Hitoshi Kozaki, made the presentation at the Anambra State Government House, Awka.
The chargé d'affaires of the Embassy of Japan, Mr. Hitoshi Kozaki, is at the Anambra State Government House, Awka, for a critical humanitarian assignment. He is received by some top officials of the Anambra State Government, led by the Deputy Governor of the state, who is representing Governor Chukwuma Soludo. The Anambra State Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning officially welcomes the Japanese envoy.
Understand we tried to recount the 2022 flood event. I think then seeing this as part of the way to push it or actually to prepare for anything as such, I think it's just to say that Anambra State and with the support of the embassy will be ready and prepared to take on and prevent or minimize every subsequent impact that is caused by this climate change which has come to stay.
The visit has been undertaken at the instance of the Emergency Support to Climate Change in collaboration with the United Nations Office for Project Services in response to the 2022 flood disaster in Anambra State, as shown in a brief documentary. The UN Office for Project Services officials speak on various aspects of the collaboration.
The overarching objective for this project is for humanitarian assistance and to help the people of Anambra to manage such disasters, what we experienced in 2022 and then whatever we are yet to experience. I mean, God forbid we don't want the 2022 flooding, but should we have any disaster, Anambra Sema should be in the position to support. So for the project, we are procuring 10 vehicles, which we have 3 pickups, Toyota Hilux pickup, 4 SUVs, Land Cruiser Prados, and then 3 cargo trucks that is able to carry relief items to whichever location that needs assistance.
Climate change is here to stay, and most times what we say to the government is how can we prepare and be resilient. The ability to predict and quickly respond to these calamities through advanced monitoring equipment like just displayed to us, early warning systems, and adequate resources becomes even more crucial. This project has critically been setting up and strengthening the Anambra State resilience and capacity to react to extreme weather events.
In his remarks, the chargé d'affaires of the Embassy of Japan expresses his deepest sympathies with all those affected by the flood disaster. He hopes support from Japan will help finance future preparedness to manage natural disasters.
We would like to express our deep sympathies to all those affected by this disaster. This project marks an important step forward in our joint effort to strengthen Anambra State's capacity to respond to natural disasters exacerbated by climate change. In partnership with Anambra State's Emergency Management Agency and UNOPS. Support for disaster preparedness funded by Japan and led by Japanese experts include conducting risk assessment, making hazard map, and setting risk management program.
Responding on behalf of the state government, the Deputy Governor first expresses appreciation for the kind gesture. He then highlights the environmental challenges of the state.
The climatic change is a global phenomenon, and it's affecting everywhere. Okay, just if it is not flooding, which has an interplay with the erosion menace we're having in Anambra State, there are also some natural happenings like spots of fire, so that we can close about it. So we thank you on behalf of Mr. Governor, Professor Chukwuma. So we want to thank you for your kind gestures, and then we hope this continues.
The necessary project certificates are signed by the relevant parties. The assignment is completed with handing over of the keys of the 10 vehicles for onward passage to the state governor.
Still in Nigeria, in Imo State, the government, through the Ministry of Health and Social Services and the Imo State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, in collaboration with its development partners, have commenced a 3-day state and local government training for its data officers on digitalization of the 305 primary health facilities across the state. The aim is to digitize the health facilities in Imo State in order to strengthen the state's data management system and to make it easier to analyze data in real time. The World Health Organization representative in the state commends the government for the initiative, which he says will go a long way to building reliable data of health systems in the state.
Under the leadership of the Executive Secretary, Imo State Health Insurance Agency, Dr. Wilike, I want to say that WHO is excited to be associated with all these great revolutions happening in the health sector. Of the many beautiful things happening in Imo State's health sector, the financial risk protection, the health insurance agency, the activities has been thrilling and very dear to us as WHO. We want to build systems that ensure the production, analysis, and use of reliable and timely health information for action.
Well, health authorities in the state say they are confident that the digitization process will ensure better efficiency in the handling of patient information, as well as analyses and provision of reliable information on immunization, vaccines, medical history for timely action.
Now that we are training our food soldiers how to use the computer to input the data of Imo State indices, it is making our job easier. The state M&E will have little to do now because they are going to upload our data straight from real time from the facility to the national dashboard. So the M&E is there also to monitor what is going on, and from the agency side, our officers will be going now and then to the facilities to ensure that they are doing the right thing.
The aim is to digitalize the health facilities. We want to get all our data, validate our data, analyze our data real time in the state. Data from the health insurance, data from immunization, data from all the PAC services will be put into this to the DHIS tool so that we can use that and send straight to the national. It's very important to know that data governs the world, and with the data we send, it's going to help us showcase what is happening in Imo State.
And that's it on the program for today and for the week. Thank you so much for always watching. I'm Layo Olarinde. Have a lovely weekend.